So, as of the last couple of months, there have been big rumors surfacing of a new King Kong video game. And it is really interesting because the studio in charge of this game is not just one, but two studios. The first studio is DeVito Artworks, which is owned by Joe DeVito. Basically just a popular artist that made comics and artworks for Skull Island. It is unknown if this particular artist has ever worked on a video game before. However, the other studio is called Gamemill Entertainment, and when you look at all the games under their banner, Kart Racers, Nickelodeon Brawl Stars, Frozen, Street Outlaws, and other cartoonish titles. So when you start looking at these games and compare to what a King Kong game would entail, it can be a little worrying because a studio that focuses on cartoon games is trying to go after a graphically realistic title. And that just doesn't feel right. And I don't want to sound like I'm hoping for their downfall. I really do hope they make this happen, but King Kong has been almost 2 decades away from gaming, and I don't know if this is the right studio to make that comeback. But I do hope they make it happen once again. Now, let's look at what we really want to know, and that question is, what will the King Kong game look like? This time, taking place in Skull Island. So we're going to see different environments, from deep caves with all sorts of mysterious spots to big fantasy-like landscapes and hills running across the island. If you saw the movie, you'll be able to visualize what this game will look like. And another key detail is that this game is very likely to be linear, and there's 2 reasons why that is. This game is based on a movie, and most movie games end up being linear. And the second is, the studio in charge of this game hasn't developed an open world title before, which isn't necessarily bad news because sometimes a bigger world tends to be less detailed. One of the key details though that needs to come back is the ability for us to play as both Kong and as a human being. This was possible in 2005, where in certain parts you would switch to Kong and others you would go back to human again. But most of the game took place in human form. This detail is what made the game popular in the first place because you don't really see that in gaming. Getting the perspective of a huge creature that's very capable, and also getting the perspective of a regular scientist exploring the island. As far as the enemies, expect to see a wide variety of fantasy versions of real wildlife, from centipedes to giant crabs and all different flying insects, and of course the main enemy of any King Kong game, dinosaurs. But as of now, there aren't any details of this game out there. But one other thing that they should implement is a King Kong only mode. Most people have been calling for a King Kong only game, so having a mode where you get to play as King Kong only would satisfy a lot of players. And lastly, when would this game release? Because as of now, we just don't have much information, and I just don't know how long we're gonna have to wait for this. But since we don't have an announcement trailer or any details other than the setting, I'd argue that it will be 2 to 3 years before we are able to see this, which is quite far from now. I mean, that is all the way up to the PlayStation 6 release. A little disappointing, but regardless, we have been waiting for a new King Kong game for a while, and after seeing the Warzone appearance, we realized how impressive a new title would be. But once again, we just don't have much to talk about other than what we just talked about. And with the lack of details, we can only speculate on what this is going to look like. So once again, for now we have no choice but to keep waiting.